On camera, Russia's Su-57 was filmed with a new weapon setup, showing the advanced fighter deploying configurations that analysts say appear tailored for emerging battlefield demands and represent a notable shift in its operational employment. Exposed footage shows a pilot or a crewman described as a felon in some reports standing beside the jet, while an unfamiliar external pod and several air-to-air missiles are clearly visible, prompting questions about the pod's function and the origin of the personnel near the aircraft. Observers are asking whether Moscow is adapting quickly enough for Ukraine's drone war, as these modifications suggest a rapid effort to counter swarms, electronic threats, and low-signature aerial targets that have reshaped conflict dynamics in the region. Once conceived primarily as a stealth air superiority platform, the Su-57 now looks increasingly like a hunter-killer, with loadouts and sensor packages that could prioritize detection and destruction of small, agile threats as much as traditional fighter engagements. Russia's top fighter appears to have been drafted into the anti-drone fight, with military planners reportedly reassigning the Su-57 to roles that emphasize integrated sensors, specialized munitions, and network tactics aimed at neutralizing unmanned systems. With Ukraine's drone power growing, Russia is reportedly moving to deploy its Su-57 Felon to counter those unmanned threats, reallocating one of its most advanced fighters toward missions focused on defeating swarms and low-signature aerial targets as battlefield priorities shift. New photos show a Russian Su-57 Felon carrying R-73/R-74 short-range air-to-air missiles, an external loadout that highlights a tactical pivot toward close-in engagements and suggests planners want rapid-reaction weaponry ready for small, maneuverable targets. One image also shows an unusual targeting pod mounted under the left engine nacelle, a placement and design detail that has prompted analysts to speculate the pod contains specialized sensors tuned to detect, track, and target low observable drones and cruise missiles. Russian bloggers say the configuration is meant to hunt Ukrainian drones and missiles, with local commentators arguing the combination of short-range missiles and a dedicated targeting pod is optimized for counter-UAS missions in contested airspace. Details were reported by the War Zone in a report on July 1st, which cited imagery and open-source analysis to outline how the Su-57's new appearance reflects a broader adaptation to the evolving threat environment over Ukraine. An external R-73/R-74 loadout is unusual for the Su-57, which was designed to carry weapons internally to preserve stealth, making these photos notable for showing a trade-off between signature reduction and immediate tactical utility. The loadout appears optimized for close-range engagements of small aerial targets, indicating an operational choice to prioritize rapid target acquisition and short-range lethality over the aircraft's original long-range stealth mission profile. The Su-57 was seen inside a large shelter like those built at Akhtubinsk airfield, sheltering the jet in hardened facilities that likely reflect efforts to protect high-value aircraft from Ukrainian strike attempts and to conceal modifications from easy observation. Ukrainian drones hit Akhtubinsk in 2024, damaging a Felon and prompting a subsequent shelter buildup, an attack that exposed vulnerabilities in Russia's airbase defenses and accelerated efforts to disperse and harden critical assets. Those attacks raised broader questions about Russia's ability to protect airfields and high-value assets, prompting debates among analysts about force posture, base defenses, and the sustainability of forward basing in a contested theater. The Su-57 is a limited-number silver bullet fighter but is well-equipped for air defense, combining advanced sensors, weapons, and electronic warfare systems that make it one of Russia's most capable platforms for both air superiority and integrated defensive roles. It can carry Kh-69 stealth cruise missiles and Kh-58 anti-radiation missiles for strike missions, demonstrating the jet's flexibility to perform beyond pure air-to-air roles and to threaten high-value ground and electronic targets when required. Western intelligence says Su-57s have been used in the Ukraine war since mid-2022, reporting operational deployments that tested the aircraft in real combat conditions and provided data on its strengths and limitations in a dynamic conflict. The Felon also carries long-range R-37M and R-77-1 air-to-air missiles for border fights, giving it reach against high-value aerial targets and enabling engagements at extended ranges when the mission demands air superiority or area denial. The Su-57 is Russia's only fighter in meaningful numbers with active AESA radar, a capability that significantly enhances detection, tracking, and engagement performance compared with mechanically scanned arrays and older radar systems. Its N036 radar, 101KS electro-optical suite, and L402 electronic warfare system help spot drones and missiles, providing a layered sensor picture and electronic countermeasure capabilities that improve survivability and target prosecution. Infrared sensors and IRSD can detect small, low-signature targets at long range, allowing passive detection of threats that may evade radar, which is particularly valuable against low RCS drones and stealthy cruise missiles. A 101KSN navigation and targeting pod was developed for the Su-57 from the start, intended to complement the jet sensor suite with precision navigation and target identification capabilities for a wide range of mission sets. The pod in the new image has a different rear section, suggesting a possible new variant, an observation that may indicate incremental upgrades or mission-specific adaptations to improve targeting performance against small or low-altitude targets. The R-73 emerged in the 1980s as a highly maneuverable, helmet-cueable infrared missile, a design noted for its agility and pilot-directed targeting which revolutionized short-range aerial combat in its era. Its successor, the R-74M, uses a two-band infrared seeker with longer range and a wider field of view, improving detection and engagement probabilities against maneuvering or low-signature targets compared with earlier IR missiles. Short-range R-73/R-74 missiles are likely Russia's cheapest option for shooting down drones, offering a cost-effective and readily available kinetic solution against small unmanned systems compared with more expensive air-to-air missiles or specialized interceptors. Tactical impact will depend on sensor fusion, shelter protection, and missile loadout choices, meaning the real battlefield value of these adaptations hinges on how well the Su-57 integrates data, survives enemy strikes, and balances weapons for the mission at hand. A Ukrainian official said parts of Japanese-made components were found inside Russian missiles, a disclosure that has raised alarms about how commercial electronics and dual-use items can be diverted into weapon systems and the vulnerability of global supply chains to exploitation. Denys Brashuk presented papers to Kyodo News alleging that Japanese parts were identified in Kh-101 missiles and other Russian systems, a public step intended to prompt scrutiny of procurement trails and to pressure partners to tighten export controls and tracing mechanisms. Brashuk named 13 Japanese companies in his allegations, though reporters found that some firms could not confirm the origins of the parts in question, underscoring the difficulty of rapidly verifying complex supply chain claims under wartime conditions. Details of the revelation were reported by Defense Blog, which cited Kyodo News on June 29, relaying the sequence of disclosures and the contested nature of the evidence while noting the broader strategic implications for Allied export controls. Ukraine's claims focused on dual-use chips, inertial measurement units, controllers, capacitors, and resistors, components that by themselves are commercially common but which can play a pivotal role when integrated into guidance and control systems for missiles and drones. The Kh-101 is Russia's primary air-launched cruise missile and has been used hundreds of times since 2022, making any evidence of foreign components in its systems particularly sensitive given the missile's strategic and tactical prominence. Ukraine says it has shot down roughly 88% of Kh-101, Kh-55, and Kh-555 missiles so far in 2026, figures intended to demonstrate defensive effectiveness even as investigations continue into the provenance of recovered parts. In response to interception challenges, Russian forces have added electronic countermeasure suites and decoys to make Kh-101 interceptions harder, a development that further complicates forensic analysis of downed hardware and the tracing of components. Previous studies have found hundreds of foreign parts in Russian weapons, including many from the United States, illustrating a long-standing problem in which commercial items enter military supply chains through opaque rerouting and intermediary actors. Brashuk asserted that most Japanese components identified are commercial off-the-shelf parts that were rerouted via third countries, a common method that frustrates direct export control enforcement once items move beyond their original destination. Because export controls typically apply to the first declared destination, items can be legally exported and later diverted, a loophole that experts say makes policing end use particularly challenging without strengthened multilateral verification and secondary measures. Tokyo has tightened export control since 2022. But Kyodo's reporting suggests that flows of sensitive components into Russia may continue through complex intermediary channels, prompting calls for further policy action and industry vigilance. Addressing diversion routes may require enhanced verification protocols, the imposition of secondary sanctions on facilitators, and improved trade oversight to trace components more effectively and deter illicit rerouting. The Japanese firms named in the reporting have not accepted responsibility for parts being diverted into Russian systems, and some have emphasized adherence to export rules while promising cooperation with any official inquiries. The allegation places political pressure on Japan, a major G7 backer of Ukraine, to demonstrate it is doing everything possible to prevent its industrial base from inadvertently supporting Moscow's war effort. The outcome of investigations could strain Japan's industry, disrupt global supply chains for critical electronics, and push Tokyo toward more intrusive export controls or coordinated international measures to close avenues of diversion.